Okay, hopefully everyone heard that. We're trying to record this one, so that's another benefit for using the 911 Coordinating Council's Start Meeting app, that we can also record this. And we'll put this presentation out online following the webinar. So welcome everyone to our second NextGen 911 GIS User Group webinar. We think we'll be lasting about an hour today for our content. And I haven't seen any other chats or anything come up, so I'm going to assume that people are logging in. And is everyone, I guess I told you all to mute. Well, can someone unmute and tell me if they can see the screen okay?
I cannot see it.
You cannot see it. Can anyone else see the screen?
I've seen it here, Lynn. It's black.
It's black? Okay, let me stop and try to share again then. Okay. Okay, how about now?
Can you hear me, Elaine?
Yes, I can.
There it is.
Okay. All I see is that it just has the NG911 GIS user group.
Okay, so it's just a slide with the webinar date and time and everything on there?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I'm going to switch to the next slide, so hopefully everyone can see. Oops. Well, that's weird. Okay. Now.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Is everyone? If silence is what I hear, I'll assume everyone can see the screen then.
Yeah. Hey, Eileen. This is Jack. We still see a black screen.
Yeah. Same here.
Same here.
Okay. Let me pause and try to reshare again.
I can see it.
Okay. Let me try one more time, and unfortunately, I might need you to re-access the webinar if you can't see it, because I wonder if when I stopped and restarted sharing, maybe for some reason it kicked you off or something. Okay, any luck now?
It's still black, but I'll jump out and then jump back in.
Okay.
I've got it now.
Okay. What browser are you using?
I'm using Chrome, and I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using IE, but I'll switch.
Yeah,
I'm using Chrome, and I can't see it.
You cannot.
Right.
Eileen, this is Sherry. Unfortunately, I think there's a limit. I think we can have as many people on the call as we want, but I have had a message pop up a couple of times that said I haven't joined the screen because of a limit. So I think the people that are getting it now are the ones who are taking the place of the ones that popped out.
Oh, no.
I know. I don't know what that number is, but that was the message that popped up at the bottom of the screen.
Well, Sherry, can you do your magical? I'm using the operations meeting line.
You want me to start the other one?
If you wouldn't mind, I assume it's not being used. We're going to try to do that bridge again, everyone. Sorry, we didn't realize there was a limit. Darn it. So.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain that's what it is. It's just the message that came up on my screen. So.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know last time when we did this, we had hit the limit. We didn't get on. We had to go the other direction.
Okay.
Right.
Well, and we switched gears this time, thinking this one had no limit, but you know.
Well, I thought this looked different than last time.
Yeah.
At least the phone call has no limit, so at least we're there.
At least we can all talk to each other. That's that. Well, I'm going to start talking because my slides are mostly words. You'll definitely want to see the screen read to Sherry slides, but I can really just talk to the content on the screen. And then Sherry, when you have that set up, just interrupt me and share that information, okay?
I will.
Okay. All right, so just a reminder, we put together this NextGen 911 GIS user group for the purpose of outreach and coordination, since we have so many different individuals on this project associated with GIS. Some are data maintainers and some are stewards. We're doing a user group webinar quarterly, and we're going to try to get together for meetings / social, at least in face, at the annual camp conference in October every year. So that's our general pattern. This is our second webinar. And we got some really great feedback on the last one, so our main goal here is to just keep you updated on the NextGen 911 project. Okay, so the agenda today is kind of a quick project update on what's going on with the NextGen 911 project. Then I'm going to hand it over to Sherry, who's going to give an update on the MSAG GeoInSAG, GIS data alignment, and TN geocoding, and all the activities going on that everyone's working on to get that data prepared for geospatial call routing. She'll also give an update on the GIS committee activities. Then after Sherry, I'm going to hand it off to Kristen, and she is going to talk about updates and coming soon features for the GIS toolbox. Then we'll come back to me, and I'll do a little touch base on the program portal, and then we'll finish it out with announcements and talk about when the next webinar will be. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to say is just I like to always give an update on our quarterly submissions. The 2017 first quarter submissions went fantastic. This was our probably most efficient and quickest to getting to 100% participation at or very near the quarter deadline. So yay for everyone. If you can't see my screen, I have a gold star on there. So that was to say good job, everyone. So really feel like we've had the portal and submissions have been accepted in the portal over a year now. So with the training and just the experience everyone has, I feel like everyone really is doing a fantastic job with your submissions and validation and getting everything uploaded. So we really, really appreciate your efforts and your participation. So thank you for doing such a great job last quarter. Another item I wanted to update on is last time I told you, oh shoot. So Sherry, I'm sorry, time out for a second. Sherry, you can't start a second bridge to the screen?
Nope, because it's the same program.
Okay.
So it's failing out on me. Shoot, I'm afraid that I'll get rid of my screen as soon as I finish talking, which will give somebody else the opportunity to see. That'll pop onto somebody's screen then, and we'll just have to take a look at the service next time and see if we can extend the screen sharing. Yeah,
okay. So I apologize, but we are recording this, and we will put the slides out separately out on the DAS Connection 911 Initiatives webpage, so we'll have both of them available pretty quickly after the call. So again, I apologize, and we'll find out why we keep hitting these darn limits. Okay. All right, so to continue, on the last quarter of the call, I talked about we had a NextGen 911 summit with Nebraska, meeting with all their key 911 personnel as well as some of their GIS personnel to talk about the Kansas project and how we could collaborate with Nebraska as they get started. We are now moving into discussions of having a similar meeting with Oklahoma. We're hoping to do that before the end of the summer, hopefully maybe in August, and similar kind of things. The idea is we're reaching out to our border states, one, to see how we can collaborate on anything to do with really with the direction they're heading with NextGen 911, and on our side, really with GIS collaboration. If you're in any one of those border counties along the state, right now your neighboring state data is being pulled from, in the Vesta locate map, is being pulled from U.S. Census data, and we'd really prefer to have local current data pulled into your maps. So that's part of the goal we have with doing these cross-border collaborations, that we can get you some better data represented on your maps. So we've talked to Nebraska. We're still in discussion with them. They're, Nebraska and Oklahoma are both just a few steps behind us as far as getting up and running. So we're trying to reach out to Oklahoma, and then we'll proceed on to Missouri and Kansas as well as time allows. It looks like a couple people signed out, so if you can't see the screen, try again to log in and see if we've freed up a connection. Another update is our imagery refresh plan. Right now we're, I guess, devising a plan. The GIS committee has been discussing our next steps with a reflight of the imagery. Our goal is to have something in place for reflights to begin this winter, and it again would be the 1-foot leaf off imagery. All this is of course pending approval by the 911 Council, but that's our goal, that's the direction we're headed, and hopefully, definitely by next webinar I'll have more of an update on exactly if a contract's in place and the timeline of things about the imagery. So good news is it looks really good that we'll be reflying again this winter, and I should be able to give you more information once that becomes available. Okay, so I wanted to also show you the status of the hosted solution deployment. As you can see, the state is turning green. So every county on this map that is green is currently cut over and live on the hosted solution. So they are using the GIS data submissions every day, whether it's, of course, in their template, they can see their own address points, but each template also has statewide road cell line files. So even if you're not on the system now, or maybe it won't be anytime soon, the statewide data is being used, and it's been very valuable and very well received throughout the state. So those are the green counties. The blue counties are the counties that have signed an agreement to come onto the hosted solution. So they are just being scheduled, and they'll come on in the coming months. The orange counties have a different 911 solution at this time, so no plans, at least currently, to come on the solution. And then the counties that are purple or yellow are either undecided or haven't expressed an intent on which direction they're going to go with their solution. So as you can see, we're making great progress, and once those blue counties keep turning to green, we'll have, I think it was up to
85.
85, thank you. And 85 counties that will be officially on the hosted solution. So that's pretty exciting. I keep making templates, so I know that we're progressing with that. Pretty much every week, someone's being cut over. So, okay, then another quick update item. I had to show off Sherry because she's such a great trainer. So the 2017 NextGen 911 GIS Data Steward and Data Maintainer certification classes are underway. We've had the first one in Wichita, and I just wanted to pop up the dates that will be traveling around the state. Of course, this is, again, Sherry is the presenter at each of these training sessions. They're broken up similar to last year. The morning session is for the data steward. The afternoons for the data maintainer. You can come to the session that's applicable. You're welcome to come to the entire day. And also let you know Sherry has updated a lot of the content for the phase we're in now and moving forward. So even if you did attend in person last year, it's really worth your while to come again and to kind of get a refresh on some of the more technical content or just general direction and timeline of the project. So you can sign up for those classes, again, on the DASC Initiatives NextGen 911 webpage. There's a registration link for each of those except for CAM at this time. That'll come out with the CAM conference. So those are the announced training dates. Okay, so with that, move over to Sherry, but any questions on general project updates or timelines? Okay, not hearing any. I'm going to turn it over to Sherry. Uh-oh. Okay. Do you want me to click through each of these, Sherry, or do you want the whole thing up there? Or?
Just go ahead and bring the whole thing up. I've got an animated slide that she's showing for the training, but the point to the slide is explaining to everyone why we have this sort of mountain of work ahead of us, why you have these telephone number alignment lists to work on and that kind of thing. And the reason for it is that the 85 counties that either are on or are coming on to the hosted solution will be within the next 12 to 18 months, connecting to the national ESINet or ESINet. And what that means at that point, when each PSAP is connected to the ESINet, they will be officially geospatially call routing. The definition of that being addresses will be converted into coordinates, and that coordinate will be used to select the PSAP polygon in the GIS data that we've all prepared, and that will be the PSAP that receives the call when the 911 call comes in. So at that point, a master street address guide for call routing purposes is irrelevant. It is a backup unit at best. But I wanted to be sure that everybody understood what an MSAG is and does and why we still need one. So the MSAG, of course, routes 911 calls. That's that's the familiarity that we all have. But it's important to know that it is also used to test the telephone numbers of outside phone companies before AT&T accepts them into their database. It is used by the business office at AT&T to determine if the address they're given by a customer who wants a new phone line is valid. It is used both inside AT&T and outside AT&T as an export file to go into other applications to do address validations. It is also used for the repair service database. So all the technicians that go out and fix phone lines and do things like that, they are using the MSAG data as well. So as we move forward, the GIS data is going to take over one of those functions, the call routing function. If you could go to the next slide. So the GIS data is going to do that, but we have to have an MSAG to do all those other jobs. We also need an MSAG just in case all of this fantastic technology within the i3 network happens to fail. We need the MSAG there to route a call, particularly early on as all this is somewhat in a testing phase. So the process that is going to happen is that our GIS data is going to go into a portal built by a company called West. The coordinating council is going to submit that for you. All you have to do is submit the way you are currently, and we're going to get it the rest of the way. But when it goes into that portal, it'll be tested just like it is now for validity as GIS data for the same kinds of errors that we're testing for now. But then it will also be used to generate what they call a GeoMSAG, or a geographically generated MSAG. And that GeoMSAG will then perform all those other functions that the MSAG currently performs. The business office will use it for new phone lines, repair services. Other telephone companies will have their data tested against it before it's accepted into the database. It'll be used for exporting into other applications, all of that kind of thing. So what it will not do from that point forward for those counties is be edited directly. The only way to get a change into a GeoMSAG is to submit changed GIS data. So before we can do the swap out, we have to make sure that we can successfully route all of the existing addresses in the database with our GIS data so that the 911 calls route properly, and make sure that our data is complete so that it can replace the MSAG entirely. That is very good news from a consistency standpoint, because the data then sort of performs its own limits on the new telephone numbers, the new addresses that can be entered into the system. So, right now I know a lot of you have called or written emails about some crazy data that you're finding or some crazy addresses that you're finding in the database. And once we get through this cleanup process and your MSAG is converted to a GeoMSAG, if it's not in your GIS data, it won't get in that database again. And that is very good news. It means that alignment is, to a large degree, hands-off once we're done. But I wanted to explain to everybody why that process had to happen and why we're still going to have an MSAG and probably will for a very long time. When I explained this process to somebody at AT&T who does not work in this part of AT&T, he said, "Oh, the business office uses it. We're all going to be retired before we don't need an MSAG anymore." He was just absolutely confident that this process was going to continue for a long time, because you're talking about changing a whole lot of business processes, procedures, computer systems, everything else to change to a new way of validating data. So the good news is we're going to be handling it through GIS data. The bad news is we have a very big alignment project to do before we can make that switch. So are there any questions? Anything that I can help anybody understand about this? Okay. So the other information I was going to pass on today is what our committee is doing. So I wanted to go over how our data model changes happen, because we're about to do a bunch of changes to the data model. Change order requests come in throughout the year, and the GIS committee, those get consolidated by me, and the GIS committee discusses and votes on any proposed changes. We do that one time a year. And we've had sort of a preparatory meeting because we haven't been able to get our live in-person full-day debate meeting going, but we've had sort of a preparatory meeting to go over those changes so everybody can do their research, consider their thoughts on the matter. And sometime later this summer we'll be meeting to do the vote. Once the committee has voted and those changes are decided on at that level, then those changes are sent out to the data maintainers. And by data maintainers, I mean anybody that is registered on the portal as a data maintainer. And they will get first crack at making comments, suggestions, objections, anything like that. And then once that period has passed and anything necessary from that comment period has been incorporated into the data model, then the public at large will be able to review and comment on it. The public at large doesn't generally comment, but we want to give that opportunity out there because a lot of GIS people aren't directly involved in this project but are very interested in the standard as we're putting it together, and their input can be really valuable if they have any to give. So we put it out for review. Then once that review period is over and any changes from that are incorporated, then we complete the document, build the new template geodatabase if that's necessary, and the update scripts to help handle the update are created. And then we notify data stewards and maintainers by email that all of that is ready to go. We ask that by the third quarterly deadline after it is released, so 9 months really after it is released, that all submissions must be in the new version. And some of you got notification from me recently that you submitted the first quarter submission in version 1.1, and that's because second quarter submission is the third quarter after release of version 2.0. So, excuse me. So it has to be in version 2.0 for submission. We're expecting that, just like last year, it will be September, October when this one is released. And it is not expected, given the changes that we have on the table, it is not expected to be anywhere near as big a deal. It is right now tentatively being called 2.1. We're considering the addition of just a few fields to support this geospatial call routing. There will be scripts to populate them that will handle probably 90 to 95% of the data work for you. And then we have had a few requests for optional data layers, and there's a lot of confusion about that out there, so I want to explain that a little bit. We are not trying to take over and tell you how to do all of your data, but we have this centralized mapping system, and people want more information in it. They want more data in it, like hydrants and gates and parcels, which were added last year. Well, we can't add everybody's idea of parcel data, everybody's different idea of parcel data to one single map. So we create a very basic standard that should not hopefully interfere with anything that you're doing. So if you want to submit that data, if you are interested in submitting that data, you can just move it into that standard and ship it along with your geodatabase. The purpose for that data is entirely to go into the 911 system map display. It's not for any other purpose. So some of the layers that have been requested recently are bridges, rail information, utility information. And again, all of this is going to be completely optional, and probably whether or not you're going to submit it is going to be up to a communication between you and your PSAP, and whether they feel they need it, and whether you feel you have data that's good enough to be relied upon in an emergency. And just to hit a couple of other questions about that we've had, rail information, for example, is available nationwide. So is bridge information statewide. But the spatial accuracy of that is not good across the state. There are places where it is excellent, and there are places where it is horrible. And because this is a statewide deployment, if the data source is not entirely reliable, both spatially and with its updates, we can't just generically put it on there. So if you feel like there's really good, say, railroad information or bridge information for your area, feel free to submit that. There won't be much change that you have to do to it, but it is not going to be put on as a statewide layer unless we find an authoritative source that has a good level of accuracy everywhere so that everyone can rely on it. Any questions about the data model or anything along that line? Alrighty then. That is the main thing on the committee's plate right now. They'll be looking a little bit at imagery stuff once some more information is garnered about that. But that is the committee's primary purpose this time of year, is to be going over proposed changes. So I believe that's everything, unless I am forgetting something from the agenda, Eileen.
No, I think that you covered it.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Okay, now I'm going to turn over to Kristen, who's going to talk a little bit about the toolbox. Oops. Oh, I didn't know yet. That was neat. Okay.
So as for toolbox updates since our last webinar, there have been several minor changes in the toolbox, but generally nothing that most people would notice. Probably the biggest change were in making certain tools compatible with ArcGIS 10.5. Namely the geocode address point and the check TN list. These two required some changes for 10.5 because Esri really likes to tweak how they do geocoding with every single version that's released. And so that means that right now we're supporting, let's see, 10.3, 10.31, 10.4, 10.41, 10.5, and they'll be coming out with 10.5.1 at some point in time. As some of you have probably noticed, the geocoding results that you get are different based on what version of ArcMap you're using. And due to that, we are going to be changing how we go about doing the geocode address points and the check list. So you can use these tools right now, but how they operate behind the scenes will be changing here before too long. We don't want inconsistent results with geocoding, and we know that y'all don't want to deal with that either. We really need consistency. That is one of the linchpins of this whole project. And so to get consistency, we need to forget about Esri's geocoder and migrate to direct data comparisons. So this is going to work for overlapping address ranges. That tool, how it operates, is changing. And also direct data comparisons for the address point and TN comparisons to the road center line. The negative that we're looking at right now is when you're doing a direct comparison, it takes a lot longer for the tool to run. Geocoding can be a lot faster, but it's just not giving good results. So it's kind of a trade-off that we have to deal with. So, you know, Sherry and Eileen and I have been talking about, you know, how we want this to look. Are certain things included in the validation tools? Are they not? You know, right now the address point to road centerline comparison tool takes 5 hours and 20 minutes to run for a smallish county. And that's just not sustainable statewide as we're trying to process databases. So we've got a lot of stuff to hash through. So that's kind of one of the directions that we're looking at moving forward. And looking way ahead to the next geodatabase model, as Sherry said, there will be tools to assist with that conversion. It'll be very similar to how the last two conversions have gone. So you'll download the new template and then use the tool to basically import your data into the new template. And then there will be additional tools to auto-populate some of the new attributes that are going to be included. So that's what I have so far. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? I heard some smooth jazz in the background.
Someone must have put us on hold.
Yeah. Okay, and if anybody has any questions in the meantime, y'all know my email address, I'm hoping, so just shoot me an email and we can hash stuff out. Or if you have any recommendations for executing massive data comparisons between address points and road center lines, you know, this is a group effort.
You can tell what Kristen's been thinking about the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so no questions for Kristen? Okay, hearing none, I'm just going to pop out here, switch over to the portal. Okay, I'm hoping everyone can now see the browser I have up on the screen that has the web portal up there. Make it even bigger. All right, so what I really wanted to focus on today in the portal is the data request, because that data request that was sent out statewide is our first one, but believe it or not, it will not be our last one, because the council has been approached several times about how to request or obtain the NextGen 911 GIS data. So we put together this data request form on the portal as a way to facilitate those data requests. And really the whole point of this data request was to honor the MOUs that were signed at the very beginning of this project with each PSAP and the 911 Council. And in those MOUs it outlined that the data is owned and directed, and how it's handled is part of the PSAP's discretion, as well as if it's distributed and who it's distributed to, with the one caveat that it could be shared for governmental purposes, and that was specifically for local and state government entities. So we were starting to get requests from entities that fell outside of that umbrella, so non-government agencies were interested in the data. So keeping the spirit that each PSAP or county still makes the decision whether or not data is distributed and how it's distributed, we put together this module. So anyone can come into the portal and create an account and have access to request the GIS data. Keep in mind that when you log into the portal, all of the access points are triggered based on roles and special permissions we give people. So if someone comes in and registers on the portal, you know, like the most recent request, and submits a GIS data request, basically all they can see on the portal is the GIS data request, their profile. I think maybe they could submit a change order, and that's about it. So the portal has been designed to really control the access, whoever logs in, and what their purpose is on the portal. So what we did is we went ahead and added some additional information on the top of the data request form. This was to better inform those requesting the data, as well as give a nice summary for all of you to refer to on the fact that this is simply a way to facilitate data request. It is not the 911 Coordinating Council's decision to distribute this data, unless, of course, it's for local or state government purposes. And it is the local jurisdiction's decision whether to approve or deny each data request. So I wanted to point out, we put that information on there. When someone comes in and fills out a request, you know, this information at the top is auto-populated. Then they'll pick the data layer, what data layers they select. For example, the most recent one, they asked for address points and street center lines. We only process out exactly what they requested. So we do not give them the whole geodatabase. We give them only what feature classes they've requested and what you've approved if you did approve it. If you denied it, they didn't get anything with that request. They can choose either shape or geodatabase. We ask them to fill out a purpose of the data request, and then the area of interest. So it could be state, or they could be looking for specific PSAPs that they'd like to attain the data for. Now this final box here is, let's say it's a private company, but they're requesting data on behalf of a government or a PSAP organization. So we've had the situation where a vendor has said, you know what, my PSAP would really like to get their surrounding county data to use in their 911 call center. So if the vendor submits the request, they would be saying, we're asking for this data on behalf of their government or their county client. And the neat thing about this is if they were saying, I'm requesting on behalf of, whatever, Allen County, an email then goes to Allen County and says, okay, so-and-so from this private company has requested this data on your behalf. Should we proceed with this request? So we even confirm back with you that the person is requesting the data on your behalf before we proceed. So we're trying to make sure everything's covered every which way for make sure these requests are, they go out to the data steward, I should point that out, for approval, and it's totally your prerogative if it's approved or denied. And after we just set a deadline, I send out a reminder, and on that deadline, we process out the requests that were approved, and we encourage the organization that requested the data then to contact the jurisdictions individually for data that was either denied or there's no response. So, so some of you may have already gotten some follow-up calls from the ALK Technologies about this request. One more thing, which we'll have to sign me out here. Let's see if it's still live here. Yeah, let me sign in again real quick here. Oh, is there something going on with my start meetings? Okay. All right, so when I log back in here real quick, one other thing I wanted to point out, so when you are asked to approve or deny a request, you go to Admin Approve Deny Data Request on the menu. We've also added the frequently asked questions content that Sherry sent out. Because of the number of questions that were generated from that data request, we thought, well, it'd be best to have this information up and in front of everyone to see what those questions were, kind of outline the purpose of the data request, to outline the MOUs. We had a question specifically saying, you need to tell us whether this is for-profit or not, and we felt that was a little redundant because, again, the MOU covers local and state government. So really the only time you'd be receiving this data request if we're receiving it from somebody other than local or state government. So that's most likely going to be a private company. So just everyone got this email. We got some good positive feedback on it, so we thought this was a good place just to have a link to refer back to this information. Because you might not get another data request this week, but you very well could get a data request, in the coming months. So we wanted to have that content out and available for you. So I know I've gotten tons of emails about that the data request module and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. So are there any other questions about the data request, either how it's run in the portal or about the content in the frequently asked questions? Okay, and feel free to email myself or Sherry after this if you have some follow-up questions about the data request. We'd be happy to help you with those questions. Okay, with that, I'm going to pop back over to the PowerPoint. I just have a couple more closing slides here. As a reminder, our next data submission deadline is June 30th. That is also the deadline for having, as Sherry mentioned, your data model converted and submitted into version 2 template format. So just keep that in mind for that date. I can't believe it's already May, so I'm sure that deadline will creep up on us here pretty quickly. We're going to continue doing our user group webinars, and we do appreciate your feedback on the webinars. So if there's something you'd like to see for the next one or expanded on or any ideas, just let us know. We're going to pretty much follow the same format because there's so much going on with the geospatial call routing, with the toolbox, with the portal. We kind of think those are our standard agenda items, but if there's something else you think that the group would like to know about, let us know. So the next webinar will be sometime in August. Same thing, I'll select the date closer to August and then send out the webinar information. Once we figure out a webinar tool that has no maximum capacity, we'll get that sent out to everyone as well. And then really with that, my final item is just reminding you, actually a quick note on the top one there, the Kansas 911 Coordinating Council website. right now the 911 liaison, Lori Alexander, is working on a redesign of the website, which we're really excited about, getting the content just organized in a more user-friendly format and kind of a refresh of the site design. So keep your eyes out for that. That's currently in progress. We're in the design phase right now, so you should see a new website probably by, I think, by the end of the year. We're hoping by this fall sometime, but just to remind you to keep checking that out because that'll have a new fresh look here soon. And then, as always, we put particularly the GIS content on the DASC Initiatives NextGen 911 webpage. So there you'll find, we kind of reorganized that into a tab format because, again, we have so much content out there, so that has a little bit of a different look now as well. But you'll be able to find out information about the GIS committee, the training dates and how to get registered, the downloads for the data model and the templates, and of course once the data model has been discussed and approved and everything, I'll probably send out an announcement, and that'll be where you can download that information. So really any of the ongoing GIS committee, GIS-specific content for the project is always out on that DASC Initiatives NextGen 911 webpage. Okay, well with that, that is the last I have, so does anyone have any questions?
Eileen?
Yes.
This is DJ. Back to the imagery that we're hoping to get this winter.
Mm-hmm.
Are they talking about getting, allowing counties to buy up to a higher resolution?
That is a great question. That has been discussed. We're in favor of some sort of a buy-up option that would probably be run directly between the vendor and the local jurisdiction. So that is, yeah, definitely something we're considering, and hopefully we'll have some more information. I wish we had more information now, but as you know, these things go. They always take a little while. So, yeah, hopefully that'll be part of it, and I'll have more information for you soon.
The sooner the better, because we're into budget, discussions at this point. So it'd kind of be nice to know how much we might want to spend for it.
Okay, and when do you have to set your budget by?
We're starting the actual discussions with the commissioners within the next couple of weeks, and I think it has to be set by sometime in August.
Okay, okay. Okay, that's great information. So I'll, okay.
Just if, even if we know that they will definitely let us, but they don't know how or when, we could start planning.
Okay. Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, no, good question. If I have more information, at least on the, like you said, what will happen, but maybe all the details, we'll send an announcement out through the portal with that information.
Thanks.
You bet. Any other questions? Okay. Well then, that wraps up our second quarter NextGen 911 GIS User Group webinar. Thank you everyone for attending and your patience with getting logged in and viewing the screen. We will be posting, like I said, the slides and hopefully a recorded version of this webinar out on the DASC Initiatives webpage, so look for that to be available soon. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone. Stay safe out there.